Hollywood's golden age was filled with big names, bright lights, and unforgettable legends. But behind the cameras and all the glamour, many of those stars were not quite as tall as people imagined. Movie studios often used clever tricks to make them look taller, like standing actors on boxes, using camera angles from below, or even digging small trenches for taller co-stars. The magic of the movies could make anyone look larger than life. From charming heartthrobs to rugged gangsters, here are the stories of famous actors who were actually much shorter than fans thought, but whose talent and charisma made them giants on screen. Mickey Rooney was only 5 feet 2 inches tall, making him one of the shortest leading men in Hollywood history. But his small size never stopped him. He became MGM's biggest box office star during the late 1930s and early 1940s. With endless energy and boyish charm, he won audiences over in the popular Andy Hardy movies and musicals with Judy Garland. When he was in his 20s, he could still pass for a teenager, and that worked perfectly for MGM's image of him as America's boy next door. His short height made him relatable and even lovable to moviegoers. But as he grew older and wanted more serious roles, MGM started using tricks to make him appear taller. They put lifts in his shoes, built hidden platforms for him to stand on, and used camera angles that made him look level with his co-stars. Costume designers gave him slim suits with vertical lines to make him appear longer. But Rooney was too talented to be limited by height. He embraced it, joked about it, and used it to his advantage. When he took comedic or light-hearted roles with taller actresses, the height difference often became part of the humor. His confidence and sense of fun made him one of the few child stars who kept working for more than 8 decades. Rooney liked to say that he may have been short, but he stood tall among Hollywood's greats, and his long career proved it true. Edward G. Robinson was another example of someone who turned a supposed weakness into strength. He was only 5 feet 5 inches tall, and when he first arrived in America as a young immigrant from Romania, no one thought he would ever become a movie star. He wasn't tall or conventionally handsome, but he had incredible intensity. He trained himself to use his voice, facial expressions, and eyes with power. His big moment came in 1931 with the movie Little Caesar, where he played the ruthless gangster Rico. His height didn't matter once the audience saw his fierce presence. Warner Brothers worried that a short man might not seem believable as a crime boss, so they claimed in publicity that he was 5 feet 9 inches and used low camera angles to make him look taller. But Robinson didn't need illusions, his energy and talent filled the screen. Little Caesar became a massive hit, earning over $1 million during the Great Depression, and Robinson became one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Soon, he was earning enormous salaries and even had the rare right to approve his own scripts. Off-screen, he was brave and generous, donating money to anti-fascist causes during World War II and joking that being 5 feet 5 inches made him a smaller target for the Nazis. His wit and courage made him not just a movie legend but also a respected human being. James Cagney, another actor of the same era, was also about 5 feet 5 inches tall but had one of the toughest images in film. In movies like The Public Enemy, he played violent, unpredictable gangsters who could scare anyone with just a glare. One of his most famous scenes shows him smashing a grapefruit into his girlfriend's face, a shocking moment that defined his on-screen toughness. Cagney's short height never held him back because he moved and spoke with such power that audiences forgot about it. He had lightning-fast delivery, explosive movement, and an inner fire that made him larger than life. Off-screen, he was quiet and private, far different from his characters, and sometimes even tried to retire from Hollywood. But his talent kept bringing him back. Cagney proved that a real actor didn't need to be tall, he just needed to be unforgettable. Humphrey Bogart is remembered as one of the most iconic leading men of all time, with his raspy voice and cool, tough style in movies like Casablanca and The Maltese Falcon. People imagine him as tall and commanding, but in reality, Bogart was around 5 feet 8 inches, maybe even 5 feet 6 inches. Warner Brothers promoted him as 5 feet 10 inches to fit the public's image of a leading man. In Casablanca, his co-star Ingrid Bergman was actually taller than him, so the crew used tricks like having Bogart stand on boxes, filming him on steps, and using camera angles from below. Costume designers gave him suits that made his body look longer. But Bogart himself didn't worry much about it. He created a style that fit his height perfectly, calm, controlled, and quietly powerful. He rarely moved much, letting his face and voice carry the emotion, which made him seem confident and mysterious. Bogart's strength wasn't in his size but in his presence, and that's what made him a legend. Sammy Davis Jr., one of the greatest entertainers in American history, was only 5 feet 3 inches tall, but his stage presence was enormous. He could sing, dance, act, and do comedy, all at a world-class level. His energy was so magnetic that people didn't even notice his height when he performed. As a black man in mid-20th century America, he faced both racism and constant pressure to prove himself. So, he decided to be the best in everything he did. He wore elevator shoes to gain a few inches and often used camera tricks or choreography to balance height differences when performing with taller Rat Pack members like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. But he didn't hide his height, he joked about it. When Dean once teased him on stage for being short, Sammy replied, "I may be looking up at you, but musically, you're looking up at me." His humor, talent, and confidence made him unforgettable. Buster Keaton was another short star, about 5 feet 5 inches tall, but he became one of the biggest legends of silent film. His father threw him, literally, into show business as a child, teaching him acrobatics by tossing him across the stage. Keaton learned how to fall safely, roll, and survive dangerous stunts. That training made him perfect for physical comedy. His small, solid frame gave him balance and control that taller actors lacked. He performed jaw-dropping stunts, like standing under a collapsing wall that missed his head by just a few inches. Even after breaking his neck during filming once, he kept performing. His stone-faced expression became his trademark, earning him the nickname the Great Stone Face. People may have laughed at his size, but he laughed back by doing things no one else could. George Raft, another tough guy of the 1930s and 1940s, was about 5 feet 7 inches or shorter. He became famous for gangster roles in movies like Scarface. Raft started out as a dancer, which gave him perfect control of his body and a cool, smooth way of moving that worked perfectly for playing gangsters. Studios often filmed him from below, dressed him in high-waisted suits, and paired him with shorter actresses. Critics said he didn't need to be tall because his stillness and piercing stare were enough to intimidate anyone. He didn't seem to care much about his height, focusing instead on acting with quiet confidence. Sal Mineo was known for his sensitive and emotional performances, especially in Rebel Without a Cause with James Dean. At 5 feet 6 inches, he was shorter than most leading men, but that helped him play vulnerable and troubled characters. Directors used camera tricks, special shoes, and even his hairstyle to make him appear taller when needed, but Mineo's real power came from his emotion. When he looked broken or scared on screen, audiences believed it. Later in his career, height became more of a challenge, but his acting skills always made up for it. Burgess Meredith was another actor who stood only 5 feet 5 inches but had a commanding presence. He could transform himself completely from role to role, playing everything from comic book villains to wise mentors. In Rocky, as the gruff boxing trainer Mickey, his smaller size made him perfect for the underdog story. When he played authority figures, directors used camera tricks to make him look taller, but his deep, powerful voice and confidence made him seem bigger than he was. He once said that an actor's job is to make the audience believe, no matter their size, and that belief gave him one of the longest careers in Hollywood. Frank Sinatra, with his silky voice and effortless cool, was only about 5 feet 7 inches, though publicity often said he was taller. He used small lifts in his shoes and careful staging to match his taller co-stars. Still, Sinatra's charisma made height irrelevant. His confidence and charm drew all the attention the moment he entered a room. Director Gordon Douglas once said that Sinatra carried himself like the most important man anywhere, and because he believed it, everyone else did too. He didn't let height affect his personal life either. His marriage to actress Mia Farrow, who was taller than him, showed he didn't care what people thought. His self-assurance was his greatest asset. Alan Ladd, one of the most famous tough guys of the 1940s and 1950s, was around 5 feet 6 inches. Yet in movies like Shane, he looked like a towering hero. Hollywood hid his height carefully with camera angles, platforms, and lifts, but audiences didn't care. Ladd's sharp eyes and calm strength made him seem huge on screen. When he was paired with taller actresses like Veronica Lake, they adjusted the sets to even things out, and their chemistry helped create some of Hollywood's most classic on-screen romances. Ladd showed that confidence and talent could outshine any physical limitation. Finally, Dustin Hoffman came along in the modern era but faced the same kind of challenges as the old stars. At about 5 feet 6 inches, he wasn't the tall, square-jawed leading man Hollywood usually wanted, but he broke that stereotype. In The Graduate, director Mike Nichols used camera tricks to make him look taller, but he also used the difference in height between Hoffman and his co-star Anne Bancroft to make the story more real. Hoffman often played underdogs, small men facing big problems, and that became his strength. He wore platform shoes at times, but mostly, he let his acting speak for itself. He once said that being short forced him to be better, to focus on the story, and to make people forget about height. Director Sidney Pollack summed it up best: Dustin doesn't try to be something he's not, he makes you forget about height by being unforgettable in every other way. In the end, these actors proved that greatness on screen has nothing to do with how tall you are. Through their talent, energy, and confidence, they stood taller than anyone else. Hollywood's magic could make them look taller, but it was their spirit and skill that truly made them giants.